I'm going to take a step back because I don't want it to over, I'm, going off my phone here, so I don't want it to drown out what I'm saying to you. So I just took it on the first ride it's had since I started this whole debacle. It's, we're going on close to 2 years, start to finish. Because I want to say it was July of 2022. I'm going to have to go back and look, but I'm pretty confident July 2022 is when I first started to pull the bed off, sandblast the frame. I don't think it was July of last year. I would love to think it was. I would love to believe it was July of last year, but I don't think it was July of last year. So today I had a couple customer jobs, nothing really crazy. I said I'll go to the gas station, get like 5 gallons of fuel, throw it in the tank. One is I wanted to make sure the gas gauge worked because I had put a new sender in the gas tank and done all that. And I thought I had put a few gallons in there. I thought I had like a half a tank. And I started it up this morning and the tank was way low. I said, oh man, I thought I had enough gas in this thing. I said, maybe my sender's not working right, or maybe something's wrong with the cluster. So I went and I got 5 gallons of gas. I threw it in and it's like right at a half tank. So obviously the gauge is right and it was almost empty. So I'm glad I didn't decide to take it for a ride because it would have really stunk to run out. So I fired her up, took her up and down the street. She ran good, shifted well. I didn't go, really far. I basically went about a mile down the road. It went first gear, second gear, third gear, turn around, first, second, third, cruised, pulled back up the driveway. Just let it run now. I can hear the electric fan. There it is right there. I can hear the electric fan running on it, which is a good sign because the temp gauge was getting right to where it should be for that to kick on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you over. I'll shut it off and I'm just going to do a walk around. It's kind of like a quick update of where it's at. Now, I don't know, 4 months ago I threw on that, 3-hour cut video of the restoration job that I did on it. And the video is really crappy. Anybody who's watched it, I appreciate it because I just took everything I had and just dumped it together. I didn't do any kind of a voiceover. It's got almost no action shots. It doesn't really show me doing the work. It's really just me talking. And if you watch the video, it's just me going over the same information over and over again. I did try to watch it like a week ago just to see what I talked about, and I just basically talk about the same crap over and over again. So I'm going to try to make this quick. I just wanted to do this intro, but I'm going to just walk you around, show you where it's at, go over what I've done, what I haven't done, try to pull this back here. So when the truck started life, it was pretty much just a rotted piece of garbage. The cab was junk. The only really good panels on it were the 2 front fenders, and even those needed a little bit of work. Even the hood on it was kind of crappy because it was straight, but it had some really crappy lacquer primer or some single K primer on it that had just baked off, and it was just rusted. It looked cool. It had like a really cool patina, but that's not what I wanted. So pulled off the whole body down to the bare frame. I did not disassemble the frame. So body came off, the engine came out, but like the tranny, the transfer case, the rear end stayed in. Everything got sandblasted, everything got painted. I used Sembrand rust corrosive flat black paint. I don't use Pour 15 anymore. I do not like Pour 15. I have a long history of using it, and I've seen it fail more than I've seen it work. So I don't use it anymore. I use Sembrand. I think it's just rust corrosive paint, or forgot what they call it. Chassis. It's not called chassis black, but you could call it chassis black, I guess. So sprayed the frame, differentials underneath the bed, underneath the cab, all that stuff got sprayed with the chassis black. The bed I had was pretty decent shape. I had bought it used from a kid. It did have a lot of Bondo. I want to say it was this side. So it had a really huge dent that kind of started down near the quarter, and it kind of went up, and it went up into this body line. And someone, instead of trying to pull the dent out, they just packed it with Bondo. So I took it down to bare metal, got all that Bondo out of there, had a friend of mine help me who's really good with body work. He did a lot of hammer. We did a lot of pulling on it. We actually welded. I want to say we welded hooks to it, and we the body work. We pulled that dent out as best we could. It does have filler in there, but it's a lot less, and we did a lot nicer of a job. So it's probably, you know, from here up and there, it's got filler in it. So that was the main body work on the bed. The rest of the bed was pretty straight. Little spots here and there. The door, I got a set of doors, and I got a cab from another gentleman. They're in pretty good shape. The cab corners have had some work prior, and I just kind of cleaned up what was there. I didn't put cab corners on it. I'm sure there was probably some rust that had been fixed in there, and whoever did it did a pretty decent job. So I just kind of cleaned up their body work and I left it. I didn't go opening the can of worms. I did strip both fenders down to bare metal. Pretty much every panel got stripped to bare metal. So everything got taken down to bare metal. Little bit of work on this fender, I think. Hood had some dings in it. Took care of most of them. I missed a couple. This door. Okay, so this door got the most work of any panel on this truck. The bottom of the seam was rusted, and the door had a lot of body work that had been done in it because it was a similar situation. Someone had dented it up, and instead of fixing it right, they just filled it with, you know, filler. So I stripped it down. I made a new bottom of the door seam, and then we did a lot of body work on getting the dents out of the door. And then once that was done, I started filling the door, and it had, let's say, you know, a dent here, and then like a dent here, and then like a dent here, and then finally, you know, you'd fill them, you'd block it, and then you'd have highs, lows, and finally I just gave up. I took Bondo, and I thinned it with some, what did I use? I used fiberglass, I don't know if you call it resin. It wasn't resin. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's not coming to me right now, but I used some lightweight Bondo or body filler, and I thinned it, and I just pretty much skim coated the door. So I skimmed the whole door. I blocked it down with 80. I skimmed it a second time. I blocked it with 80, and it was like really, really decent on being pretty straight. And then I hit it one more time with some two-part frosting, you would call it, and I blocked it for a final time, I think with like 180, and then it got the primer. So that door seam was all rebuilt. I made a door seam from scratch. I pretty much took a strip of metal out of one of my other doors, like this wide. I cut it out. I put it on the inside. I cut out what was rusted. I welded it, and then I folded it over, hammered and dollied it, welded it on the outside, and then from there I worked all my body work up, fixed all the major dents and stuff, and that was that. So that door got a ton of work. Now, as far as the body work, right now it's in an epoxy primer, which gives it kind of like a semi-gloss white look. That is what I wanted. I wanted to put in epoxy primer and then just leave it in epoxy primer, which may be the case. But if you do look over the truck, and I'll try to point them out, there are a couple dings that I never, so there's a small little ding right there. There's one on the hood that I missed right there. There's a little bit of unevenness in the body work kind of right there. And then what I did on the tailgate is the tailgate needed a ton of work. I didn't go crazy, but I left all like the sanding scratches, and I actually kind of did that. I mean, I literally blocked this out with like 36 grit. I pretty much skim coated the top of this tailgate, and I just blocked it with the real rough stuff because I said, you know, I want that unfinished look. So I'd say the body work. Now panels, I still got to do some lining. Like I could see this is not really lined up too great here. That, see, there's some body work left in there, so it's rough. I'd say the body is at about 70% right now. If I was going to do any further, I would go to the dings that I know I have, scuff them down, fill them, block them. After that, I'd probably scuff the whole truck with like 220, hit it with a real good coat of high build primer, block that high build down with probably 320 and see where it's at. And if it was pretty straight, if I do end up painting the truck, it's just going to be white, just a regular white, nothing crazy. So that pretty much brings us up. I didn't feel like working on this video. I haven't shot a video in 4 months. Didn't feel like doing this video. Mustered myself into, finally like pushed myself into doing this video. I've been interrupted with 3 phone calls, 2 people stopping by, and then I got sidetracked texting somebody. So it's been 10 different interruptions during the course of this. I want to say I left off on the exterior. So panels come out. They originally white. I was going to do white, and then the badge was white, and then I think if you look, my thumbnail picture is that. I didn't like it, so I ended up taking it off, flat black. Did the badge white with kind of like a black inlay there, you know, try to break it up a bit. All the exterior bulbs, all the interior bulbs, everything is LED. I said about the bumpers, they're flat white. This cab came off of a C30 truck, so it's got cab lights. It's all LED lights in the cab lights. The rear bumper is off of a 93 or 94 Chevy pickup. Just had to make some brackets to get it to bolt on. I think it looks good on the truck. It's a step bumper. These trucks did not come with a step bumper. The bumper was kind of like a more flush mounted chrome. And I was gonna put that on there, but I couldn't find a good used one. Not even one, I didn't care about it if the chrome was in good shape because I was gonna paint it anyway, but I couldn't even find a really good used one. Every one I found had rust holes in it, and people still wanted good money. I bought this one from a scrapyard down the road for like 75 bucks and just did a little bit of work to it, you know, took it down the metal. I had a couple dings. It was a painted bumper to begin with. It came off of like a teal green truck. So I just D8'd it down with 80 grit. I had to do a little bit of body work on it because I had a couple dings in it, and then I just sprayed it with the epoxy primer. So that worked out well. The taillights, I sanded them. I hit them with a 2-part urethane clear coat, and I put a little bit of black paint in it just to give it like a slight kind of a tint to it. Now, the bed liner. I have to apologize for this because I was supposed to. I'm trying to open the tailgate with one hand. Hang on. Here we go. So, apologies are gonna be forthcoming. I was supposed to video this whole Raptor liner. I bought a tintable kit with 6 liters of product. So a 6-liter kit is enough to do the bed and over the rail, because I went slightly over the rail, and I had 1 full container of product left over. So I got enough to do a small, if I had to do a touch-up, or if I decided I wanted to do a small project with it, I have enough to do that. So just to give you a frame of reference, this is a short bed. So if you're gonna do a long bed, you would definitely wanna buy a 2-gallon or at least 2 1-gallon kits. Now, I'm also gonna say, I did spray this with an HVLP regular spray gun. That, I think, definitely increases the amount that you get out of the product, because it's a thick coat, but it's not as thick as you get out of that Schultz gun. So I prepped the bed, 80 gritted it down. I had some dings and stuff I took care of. It had a couple holes in it. Like, it looked like almost someone had dropped something and punched like a hole. There was like a small hole here, one here. So I just fiberglassed those. I did do some seam sealer. After I hit it with the 80 grit, did the rough body work, did the seam sealer, I went over it again with another 80 grit by hand. I went by hand every nook and cranny on this. And then I went over it a 3rd time with really, really rough Scotch-Brite just to make sure I didn't miss any nooks and crannies. I've had this stuff delaminate. If you miss a spot on this stuff, especially, With the black stuff, you can kind of get away with it more, but I think with the tinted, when the paint cures and it shrinks, if you have any bit of this stuff like in these nooks and crannies here where it's not really prepped well, it will pick up, it will lift. You don't want that. So I really specifically did the prep. I did a full day of prep and taping. So one full day. So I started on a Sunday, and I want to say I sprayed it Monday afternoon. So I spent the full day Sunday and most of the morning Monday between prepping it and painting it. And this is not a really large bed, but I really wanted to make sure I didn't leave any stone unturned. I didn't miss anything. I don't want to have 6 months down the road seeing it lifting in the corners and the seams. So that was the prep. I wanted to always, I like going over the edge of the bed. I usually, on my trucks, I will step on this all the time. I did the same thing. I went over the edge on that front rail, the round part there. So originally I was just gonna shoot it with the regular gun. And then I got it in my mind, like I had done, if you guys can see it, I'll try to pull in on it. There's that toolbox. It was all black, like the fronts of the drawers. The handles were silver. I did the handles like a gloss black. I think it's like a Nighthawk black from Honda, clear coat. So base coat paint, clear coat on the handles. And then I wanted to do the box like a bright green, and I had a bunch of Raptor liner left from something else. So I used regular, this is the gun I used. I used my DeVille Bliss HVLP gun with a 1.9 tip. So you take the Raptor liner, you add the hardener to it, you add the paint to it, and then you add urethane reducer. I use the medium grade reducer, which basically means it's good for temperatures like 60 degrees to 75 degrees. And then you have a medium grade reducer, and then you have a slow reducer, you have a fast reducer depending on temperature. We won't get into the weeds on that. Let's say we'll just do dumb numbers. Let's say you have 200 grams of Raptor liner. I would do 75 grams of hardener. I would do 25 grams of paint or your tint, and then I would do 35 grams of my reducer. So I just mixed it the same every time as far as the amount of hardener, the amount of tint, and the amount of reducer until I got a spray out of the gun that I felt covered well and gave me the texture I was looking for. So I played with it a couple times, and then I just pretty much went out. I sprayed. Now, this bed was black on it. That was all the prep. Mixed my product. I started on the back wall, and once I started getting the coverage I wanted, and I knew my mixture was good, I switched to another gun, and I just put some white paint in it, and I blasted a decent coat of white paint on the black bed. So I had it all prepped. I hit it with one coat of white paint. I let that flash off until I could touch it and it wasn't coming off and it wasn't sticky. Maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It didn't take very long because it wasn't a heavy coat. And then I went with the other gun and jumped on with the product. So I started with the back wall, the side walls. I sprayed all those, probably 2 solid coats. Coverage was good. Then I started with the bottom of the bed, and I heavily overlapped. My overlap was almost 90%. So I would spray, and then I would maybe go 10% down, and I would spray. Then I'd go 10% down, I'd spray. And then I'd flip it. I'd go boom. So I did squares. And once you spray, you're not going to walk on it. You can't walk on it. I actually sprayed it with I had a pair of socks, so I would sit on, the tailgate was last, and these were last. So I would literally sit on the tailgate, take off my shoes, get into the bed with my socks, spray. Then when I had to reload the gun, I'd get down because I didn't want to get any dirt. I didn't want to get grime from the floor. I didn't want to get anything that was going to mess up my coating. I didn't want to step on it. You can't step on it. I mean, you have to let this cure. Like, if I wanted to do a second coat on it now, obviously it's been like 2 months since I sprayed this. Probably been 2 months now. I could just scuff it and I could spray it again. I can do another coat. If you're spraying it and you want to do another coat and you're going to walk on it, I don't think you could let it go for anything less than an hour and a half or 2 hours, because I would be afraid that, yeah, it might be able to step on it for a second, but if you're standing on it, I'd be afraid that either the fibers of your socks or your shoes or something is going to damage it, and it's just like maybe the top of it will be cured, but not the underneath of it. So I really did the sides and the back, 2 or 3 coats. I didn't want any show through. Doing the white coat of paint on everything before I sprayed the white Raptor liner saved me a lot of Raptor liner product, and it made it a lot easier. You could feel it, you could tell it's Raptor liner, but it just has more of a paint look. Really happy with how that came out. So, like I said, prep it really good, cleaned it really good, start with the walls, start with the back wall, do your floor last. So I did the floor, then I did the tailgate, then I closed the tailgate, and then I did the top rail, and that was where I finished off. So that's my goal with the truck was I wanted to do it in a year, which didn't happen. It took 2, and I'm still not technically finished with it. But I did set a goal for a year. It was using all the existing parts that I had already purchased, and anything else that I needed, I would try to repair it or redo it before I purchased it. Anything I bought was either complete necessity because I had no other choice and I couldn't reproduce it myself, like the carpet. I can't make a carpet. I did at one time entertain Raptor lining the floor in the truck and not putting a carpet in it, but I like carpet, so buying the carpet was okay. Same thing with like the seat cover. I actually redid the seat cover. It had a couple rips that I had fixed and I had dyed it, and it came out really good. If you look back in the original video of the restoration, it's in there. It's like brown and black two-tone. My vinyl repairs, totally amateur, had no idea what I was doing, and they didn't hold up. After sitting in the seat a few times, my repairs started tearing where the seat was already ripped. If I would have repaired it properly and sewed it or sewed in a piece of vinyl, maybe I could have done it. I don't know. Spend the money on, I felt, were things that were like the engine that was in this truck smoked. It ran like shit. I got a really good used engine from a buddy of my cousin's for a song. He basically gave it to me for nothing. Alls we did is I put a new water pump on it. I did some gaskets on it. I painted it black, stuck it in. The headers that were on this truck were crappy looking. I painted them, I wrapped them, I welded new collectors on them, saved them. The dash pad, all the interior was red. I didn't like it. I wanted a different color. Instead of buying pieces, I painted them, I dyed them, whatever you want to say, however you want to phrase it, that's what I did. The things that I spent the most money on were, I did do a painless wiring kit in the truck. It was totally worth it, but it was expensive. That kit was like $800 something by the time I was done. That kit, the bed, the cab, the doors, which I got for a really great deal, and then the guy threw in the tilt column that I have in it now. He threw in these rear slider that I got in it now. He threw in a bunch extra stuff. Those were the other, besides, I mean, I didn't really spend a lot when I bought the truck. But the big ticket items were really the painless wiring kit, the bed, and the cab, the doors, and whatnot. But relatively speaking, for what I see parts going for now, I still did really well on that stuff. Let's go inside. So the door panels were originally red. They're now brown. The carpet's brown. That was brown. But I'm going to say right now, I could already see it. The red is starting to kind of come through. And that's one thing I've learned with this paint dye, is certain things it does really well on. Like the hard plastic stuff is brown. This dash was red, now it's brown. But I've noticed the fabric things, like, okay, these seat belts were red and I sprayed them with the black, and I can kind of see the red is starting to come back through. So, I mean, it's like everything else. It's not perfect. I didn't want to spend, I think a seatbelt kit for this truck's over $300, and these seatbelts work perfectly fine. I cleaned the buckles up. I mean, I don't have all the money in the world just to buy stuff. You can go on LMC truck and just make yourself poor buying stuff for this truck, and I really didn't want to do that. So we pulled the whole interior apart, flat blacked everything, everything in here that's flat black I did separate. Did this bezel separate, did the dash. Obviously the steel dash stays in the car, but I shot it in the truck. Shot the column, shot all the dash pieces separate. I did have to replace the inner glove box part because it's for an AC truck. This truck is now an AC truck. It wasn't originally. The dash pad was red, now it's brown. I did have to replace this inner dash inlay with one that took a couple vents because it's vented for AC. Like I said, the cover I had redone and then I wasn't happy with it. It didn't hold up. This is actually a slip fit cover. I think I paid $130 for this cover. It's from, I think it's called Duracy or Duracover is the name. I mean, it fits really well. It's nice looking. I'm very happy with it. And no one looks at it and says, oh, that's a slip cover. You know, it doesn't look like when you buy out of AutoZone for like $30 back in the day that hangs off all loose. This is held on by strong vinyl straps. It's decent. It's got a nice little, it's got like a little storage pocket here. It's got a little storage pocket in the front. Can't really see it right there. So decent. The headliner, the board was in good shape. I cleaned the board. I did the headliner myself. I just went to an upholstery guy locally, bought the headliner material from him, redid the headliner. Visors were the red color. They got painted brown. I put a used windshield in it that the guy had given me that sold me all the other cab and door parts. It's got a couple scratches in it, but the windshield's pretty decent. I didn't want to buy a new windshield. I know I'm cheap. Used the slider that he gave me. Opens and closes really nice. I did buy the carpet from, I don't want to say it was year one. It was an LMC truck. I can't remember the brand of the carpet. It fit pretty good, but I did have to do a lot. It's funny because there's a video online of them putting this carpet in one of these trucks and theirs just falls right in. Mine did need quite a bit of trimming and whatnot, but still it's a nice carpet, just black. So I wanted to do black carpet, black seat, black headliner, and then brown everything else, black lower dash. I threw in the cheapest aftermarket gauges that Amazon had. They work, they're not bad, but I do have all my factory gauges hooked up and working. Originally I didn't want to cut the dash and I wanted to put the style with the two dials in it. Those radios were like $400, $300 just for like a really low level one. I'm like, screw that. I bought this Pioneer. It's got a CD player in it, does all the Bluetooth, does all that bullshit. It was like $100 off Amazon. I did put new speakers in the dash. Those you have to buy very slim or low profile speakers because the way this dash fits on. But I was able to use the factory housings with the size speakers I bought. I made sure the tweeter did not stick way up because if they stick way up then you got to cut this dash. I didn't want to get into that, so that worked out well. I did also, let me see if I can, factory speakers on this truck. It's going to be hard for you guys to see. So that's a 6x9 and that's in these metal kind of like brackets that you can buy off. I think I bought them off eBay or Amazon. I can't remember. They weren't very expensive. I think the brackets were like $50. So the brackets go into the corner of the cab. You mount the bracket into the cab. You mount the speaker into the bracket. And then I ended up, so this is a rear carpet kit that I bought along with my floor carpet to cover the rear part of this cab. So I kind of cut the holes and flush mounted it. So this way, nice, it's clean. That's probably, you can probably see this one a little bit better. See if I can pull in on it. Just a nice clean install. That worked out well. They're kind of a pain, honestly, to install. Not as easy as you would think, but you know, we made it through. You know, painted all these panels. So I did newer stereo, all new speakers, everything's all new wiring. I put LED bulbs and everything. I'll turn on the dash lights, you can see. I did all LED in the cluster, everything. Now, as far as the interior, everything works except for I got to hook up the vacuum I got all the vacuum lines run. There's one, you can kind of see it hanging down there, but I got to hook it up to the vacuum solenoid. I call them solenoids, but basically the blend door, the defroster. I got to hook up all the vacuum lines to that stuff. I haven't done that yet. The fan does work. I could turn on the heater fan and whatnot. I got to run the wires in the ashtray for the cigarette lighter. I got to wire that up. I have an open hole here because obviously this cab and this dash had come from a truck that had multiple tanks. This only has a single tank, so I just got an opening there. I don't know, maybe I'll make a little plastic cover to go over that or something. E-brake. I have most of the cables to replace, but I'm missing a bracket and I think another thing I got to put on to hook up the e-brake, but I'm going to do that. I got to put a couple screws and hold in these boots to the doors. I got the 4x4 shifter all hooked up. I got all my interior lights working. Horn works. Signals work. Windshield washer squirters work. All the lights work. Covers on the other door. I swear to God I had 4 of them. I'm trying to find the last one before I order it because you know the minute I order it, I'm going to find it. These are all chrome. I painted them black. What else? I mean, that's pretty much the interior. Just, you know, try to make it clean, try to make it nice. Nothing really fancy. Besides the LED, I like all the LED bulbs in it. I think that's a cool touch, so I'm happy with that. I'll show you the headlights, and then I'll show you under the hood, and then that's going to be that. So, cab lights. I'll show you the tail lights. License plate lights, all LED. Same thing. Shut this door. Here's the passenger side. So, the old owner, he passed away. He was a good guy. I never met him, but he was a good guy. He always had this hat in the truck and his Twisted Tea beer cozy. So we keep those in there, you know, show respect. You know, just little things like around this was silver, this trim. I did black around there. You know, just little touches like that. Here's what the front end looks like. Look good, right? That was worth it. Another thing I guess I should go over. I did rebuild the doors as far as all new weather stripping. I rebuilt the corner windows here, new locks, unlocks, you know, the little levers here, all new seals. I took all these apart, new seals and everything. It was a pain in the butt, but it was really worth it because now the truck is tight. It's not going to get air leaks and stuff. Should be pretty decent. Under the hood, this engine came out of a Corvette, like a mid-70s Corvette, so nothing real special. It probably makes like 200 horsepower. I don't know if it's a 4-bolt main. It's got just a regular Edelbrock 650 4-barrel carb with an adapter to a stock intake. It's got a set of long tube headers on it. No name brand, I don't even know. I did put a new alternator in it. The starter's fairly new. It was newer on the other engine. You know, I did new it came with battery cables in the painless kit. I put my coolant reservoir. I bought this thing off eBay because I didn't like the big stupid plastic reservoir that went there. Negative battery terminal for a Dodge Cummins that I had bought and sold, and then I had that, and I was like, oh, that terminal is really nice for the negative battery. I did put a nice electric fan on it. It seems to work well. It gets up to like 190. It kicks on. It runs good. Brings it right down. Again. See that Chevy at the end with the plow on it? So that Chevy's got a LS in it. I was going to do an LS swap on this, but I wanted to do it with the motor and the tranny out of that truck into this truck. But after getting this engine for such a good deal and then getting it installed and painted and everything put together, and then like a month later, I ended up buying that truck because it had the LS in it, and I got it for. So I'm going to leave it like that for now. I got a couple. So this has got the, it's got a 700 R4 in it. There's that orange wire right there. That's for like the torque converter lockup solenoid. I got to wire that in. I haven't done that. And then I think that pink wire is also related for that. So I got to do something with those. But that's another day. All right, I'll show you. So all this got painted with chassis black. I put new shocks in the back. I had to do rear wheel cylinders, and I think I did one brake line, was kind of rusty. And I think I machined the drums. That was basically it. I should probably check that rear diff fluid. I did just do the fluid in the transfer case just the other day. I drained it and filled it. I had done a transmission service on it, all new pan, all new gasket, and I did the filter, and then there's that servo cover that was actually leaking. I had to when the body was off and all that, got all new body mounts, so body mount, bed mounts, all that, radiator mounts, same thing, all new. New front shocks. The brakes were good in the front end, mess with those. Is budget like the rest of the truck. I bought a exhaust pipe kit, 2 1/4 inch off Summit for a 2-wheel drive C or K series truck, not a 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive. And I think that was like $170, and then I bought knockoff Flowmaster mufflers, and then I bought just flat black. I went with like a kind of like an odd shaped oval type of tip, just something different. I was gonna put a round tip on it, but I don't know, just wanted something different. I made the exhaust so I could take it back off if I needed to. It's just a 2 1/4 inch dual exhaust. Doesn't need any cats. It's emissions exempt, so nothing real special. Do I have a flashlight? I do, but I don't know where it is. Anyway, the radiator support had a couple spots in it that were rusty, so I fixed those. I welded those. I did that obviously before the whole truck was put together, and then just flat black that. I used the same paint I used on the frame. As you can see, the frame came out nice. Looks nice and smooth. You know, I pretty much sandblasted everything I could. The leaf springs, the frame, the pumpkins, differentials, whatever you want to call them. Anything that was solid steel that I could do, I did. I should replace this. This is a crappy, steering stabilizer shock I should replace. I mean, that's it, dude. That's the whole tour.